Hey, what's up, classic TV fans? My name is Rick9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the Twilight Zone. More specifically, about an episode that I know many of you really like. It's called The Obsolete Man. Now, I kickstarted my 2022 challenge, which is to get to 150,000 subscribers before the end of 2022. So if you can help me by hitting that subscribe button, remember, it's absolutely free to do so. You only have to do it once. We can absolutely get there. When I do get there, I will be doing a very special giveaway. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and thank you for the support. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll tell you what is one of the most fascinating facts about this episode. Now, it's from season 2, it's episode 29. In fact, it's the last episode of season 2. It aired June 2nd, 1961. It was about 25 minutes long, which is fairly normal. I have to say, it wasn't my favorite Twilight Zone episode. That's not to say that it wasn't any good or that it was really powerful or that it has really good meaning, because I think it has all of that. It's just not one that I turn to when I want to watch something on Twilight Zone, have some fun and enjoyable time. I think for me, it's one that I like to watch just on my own, maybe once, maybe twice here and there, and then just get the message and move on. And the repeat watches or other episodes. But I'll tell you a little bit about it. I'd love to know your thoughts down below if you enjoy it or not. What do you think about this episode? Now, what happens in this one, spoilers alert, if you haven't seen this, I will spoil the ending, so just so you know. It's a futuristic totalitarian world. Now, there's a man who's pretty soft-spoken, he's mild-mannered. He's a librarian, in fact. His name is Romney Wordsworth, played by the amazing Burgess Meredith. Now, he plays in several Twilight Zone episodes. I believe he's the most recurring main actor on the Twilight Zone, which is really interesting. Now, his character in this one also related to books, like the one where he loses his glasses, right? His glasses breaks. He loves reading. Well, in this one, he's a librarian. No connection to the characters there. Unfortunately, he's on trial, and he is ruled to be obsolete. Again, totalitarian world. He is someone who is partaking in something that's seen as wrong against the law, which is reading, entertainment, joy. Now, this future society has decided everything that people need to know, what they need to do. Apparently, according to this world, there is no God and there are no books. Society doesn't need librarians. These are all things that the society created. Romney himself, the man, the protagonist, makes a plea about his rights and his free will to the judge, who's called the chancellor here, and he doesn't even listen to him. He doesn't even care. Now, the jury finds Romney obsolete, orders him to be executed, and he can choose the method of death. And his plans include a little surprise for the chancellor. Well, he chooses to die in his home, basically with an explosion. Right, with a bomb. And so when he invites the chancellor over, he only reveals this to him after locking him in the room, and he wants him to squirm. He wants him to freak out. And what's really interesting is that the ending is that the chancellor escapes, and Romney, our main guy, actually dies in the story. And many people think, well, what happened? He's defeated. Well, the chancellor is actually declared obsolete after that because he freaked out. He showed weakness. He showed emotion. He was shown that he was obsolete, that he could be easily replaced. He was no longer a good leader. And people would even say that Romney, the main man, the librarian, was the triumphant one because he believed in God. He was the one who was assured of his salvation, while the other man believed in just society, and that society turned against him. And though he ended up dying at the end, he had nothing. He was left with nothing. Now, what I really want to focus on, again, let me know what you think down below about this episode, is the door. There's a really interesting fact about the door that if you don't pay attention to, it's pretty mind-blowing. And this door is essentially the main object in this whole episode. Now, I will mention the director of this episode. His name is Elliot Silverstein, and he had something to say about the set and the facade that was used for this episode. Now, this opening, or these two doors, essentially was the major set piece of this episode. The room in which Burgess Meredith was judged, it was quite unlike anything seen before on the Twilight Zone. Now, the walls were completely covered in black velvet. Remember, this episode was shot in black and white. So it gave not an impression of pitch darkness around, but it gave this tone of a muted look around the characters and the actors, so it really made them pop, and the background almost seemed to fade into itself, like there was nothing there. It was almost like an abyss. There was also a single long narrow table that was used, and a lot of the times the camera would be on the table looking up at the actors, and it would cause many of the shots to look distant, removed. It created that dystopian look that the director wanted to create. The Chancellor also mostly stood on this tall, narrow lectern behind where he would be elevated and apart from anyone else. Now that would give him a grandiose look. He would look really huge in this scene, really apart. It was really an expressionist feel that the director was trying to do, and it was really effective. Now, as I mentioned, the door, which opens from the middle, that's pretty unlike what we've seen. Usually doors open from the left to the right or right to the left, but not in the middle like that, was also purposefully long and narrow. This is what they really focused on in regards to the sets, these things being long and narrow and creating depth of field for the camera and us to pick up on. Now that was very tough to do, according to Silverstein. He says the door in itself, which was that high, had never been built ever in television before. In fact, it was 25 feet high. Now really think about that, 25 feet high. I mean, that is 4 times the height of a human, so that's pretty tall. It was enormously high, and they had to do some work behind the scenes in regards to how to put it together and to make it essentially stay up, because it was a huge monstrosity. So whenever you look at this episode, you can know that that is essentially the tallest door ever built in Hollywood at the time for this television show. Pretty impressive, 25 feet high. Did you ever notice that, how long it is? I mean, it's a beautiful door. It's a beautiful set, beautiful crane shots. I mean, if you think about it from an exterior point of how they create it, it is really artistically beautiful. So maybe check out the episode next time, not really so much for the story, but for just the facade and the set pieces. I think you'll really appreciate it in a different way. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for the support as always. Don't forget to always better yourself, always stay positive, and most importantly, be hopeful.